the silence between centuries, something began to stir. Not a monument, but a memory etched in stone, summoned by light. The Grand Egyptian Museum was not built. It was born out of longing, out of legacy. Before it was a museum, it was a question. Can space remember? Can walls speak? Here, architecture is not shelter. It is scripture, written in angles, whispered in light. The museum leans towards the pyramids not in shadow, but in reverence. Its axis aligns with eternity. Triangles echo the divine. Light here is not decoration. It is the first curator. Engineers studied how sunlight travels, how it strikes stone, how it sanctifies. Morning light greets the old kingdom. Noon crowns Tutankhamun. Dusk bows before the gods. This is not chance, it is design. You do not walk through this museum. You are guided by silence, by scale, by story. This is not a building, it's a temple. Not to gods alone, but to memory, to craft, to continuity. It does not ask you to observe, it asks you to listen. The visitor's path. You do not enter the Grand Egyptian Museum. You transcend into something older than time. The staircase rises not as stone, but as a journey. 72 steps echoing the ancient path of the soul to eternity. Each level lifts you higher, towards kings, towards gods, towards memory itself. You meet colossal statues, and yet you also meet a farmer's bowl, a child's toy, a mother's amulet, and you begin to understand history is not only grand, it's intimate. The museum does not teach, it transforms. Every step is a question, every pause a revelation. You came as a guest, you leave as a bearer of memory, of meaning, of Egypt's endless story. He lived 9 winters, a boy crowned by gods, buried by silence. Tutankhamun is not a name, he is a question, whispered through gold, echoed in dust. He was a child, with sandals, with toys, with dreams, and yet the world bowed, not to his deeds, but to his mystery. He died young, and the desert kept his secret, until a door was opened, and the boy king rose again, not in flesh, but in gold. Now, for the first time, his treasures stand together. Over 5,000 objects, the largest Tutankhamun collection ever assembled. Thrones and chariots, jewels and daggers, games and linens, each one still carrying the warmth of his world. 9 winters, that is all. Yet he remains, not as a king, but as a mirror. In him, we see the fragility of power and the eternity of memory. Echoes of the divine. Before history had kings, it had gods. Not distant, but near, in wind, in water, in flame. Egypt did not worship, Egypt conversed. Ra rose with the sun, Isis wept with the Nile, Osiris ruled the silence beneath. These were not myths. They were mirrors reflecting the soul of a people who saw the sacred in everything. Symbols spoke louder than words. The eye, the feather, the scarab, each one a sentence in the language of eternity. Here in the museum, more than 50,000 religious objects survive. Shrines of gold, statues of gods, amulets carried by the humble, rituals once whispered in temples now echo in stillness. The gods have not vanished. They have changed form. They live in stone, in story, in memory. Hands that heal history. Not all heroes wear crowns. Some wear gloves. Some hold scalpels, brushes, threads. They do not conquer time. They coax it back into form, back to breath. In the conservation center of the Gem, the largest of its kind in the Middle East, history is mended. Here, laboratories study wood, stone, papyrus, textiles, metals. Scanning machines reveal what the eye cannot. Microscopes read the wounds of time. statue, a faded scroll, a mask with a missing gaze, each one waits, and hands answer. Every scan, every solvent, every stitch is a prayer. Not to preserve perfection, but to honor imperfection. History does not survive by accident. It survives by care, by hands that do not seek fame, only truth. And in their quiet labor, Egypt lives again. It began with a question. How do you house a civilization? Not behind glass, but within breath. This is not a building. It is a temple of memory. It stands now not just for Egypt, but for every soul who seeks to understand. A place where relics breathe, where gods and farmers share space, where the past is not behind us, but around us. The Grand Egyptian Museum is not an ending, it is a beginning, a promise carved in stone that Egypt remembers, and the world is invited to listen.